Hi everybody, welcome to Stamping with Melva. I'm Melva Peters and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Canada. Today I want to show you how I made the really pretty and very simple card that will be my thank you cards for my customers in July through to the 10th of August. This is a watercolor technique and you use watercolor paper, and it really is a very simple way to create what I think is a very beautiful, beautiful card. So I just want to say thank you if you've come back and this isn't the first time you've come and watched my videos. Thank you for coming back. If it is the first time that you've found me on YouTube, welcome, and I hope you'll come back. So please subscribe to my YouTube channel. But right now, let me switch over to my desktop and I'll get started on showing you how to make this card. Okay, first of all, let me grab the card. Not sure why I don't have it here. Okay, so here's the card that I shared on my blog today. So I have used polished pink. It looks very bright on my camera, but maybe it won't look so bright on YouTube, but it looks very bright. But this is polished pink cardstock. I've used watercolor paper and I have stamped on it while it was wet. So I've spritzed it, then I've stamped the flowers, which you can see spread, and then I've gone back in and stamped the outline using tuxedo black, and then just a little bit of a ribbon and a sentiment makes a really pretty card. You can fancy this up by putting some background images on it if you want, but I left it pretty simple because I just love how the label in the corner, the scallop label, just kind of is the highlight of the card. So here's my supplies. Again, pretty simple. I've got a piece of cardstock that is cut 5.5 by 8.5, and I'm just going to fold that in half. Use my bone folder to give that edge a really nice crease. Set that aside. Now I've got a piece of the watercolor paper from Stampin' Up, the Fluid 100 watercolor paper. This is cut. This is actually half of a sheet. So it is 3.5 by about 5, let's see, 5 inches, 3.5 by 5. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my silicone mat. There are two ways to do this technique. And the way I like it and what I did for this card is I've spritzed the paper and then stamped on it. The other way to do it is to ink up your stamp. So I'm using the inside of the flower. You can ink that up and then spritz the stamp, and it gives you quite a different different image. And I think I have one here. Yeah, so it does give you definitely a bit of a different image. It doesn't all spread out. It spreads out some, but it doesn't spread out and bleed as much as it does when you spritz the whole piece of paper. I kind of like how it bleeds out more, and so I'm going to just go and just spritz my paper. Now, I've got this quite wet, so that means it's gonna bleed a fair amount. The more you spritz and the wetter you are, it definitely will bleed. Now, I'm just going to, and I've got this bigger, so I'm going to actually trim this down using a die. But now I'm just going to take and randomly, and you can see how it's already spreading out and bleeding. And I have this quite wet. Probably should have thought about that a little bit more, but actually it's okay. It definitely gives a different look depending on how wet your paper is. Now, if I had some, I don't think I have a piece of paper towel, but if you had some paper towel, you could kind of dry it off. I'm going to bring in my heat gun, because one of the tricks to this is you want to make sure, I'm going to try and talk loud over the heat gun, make sure this is very dry. And if I actually had time in the video, I would probably, if you were going to make your card, I would suggest you actually let this dry perhaps as much as 24 hours before you stamp on it. But for the purposes of this video, I'm not going to be able to do this. So I'm going to try, and let's move that off. I'm going to try and dry this as much as I can because you don't want excuse me, you don't want your tuxedo black, which is what I'm going to use to stamp the outline, to bleed. Excuse me, I have a tickle. All right, so I'm just going to try and dry this as much as I can. As I said, if you are making this at home, you really want to, even leave it overnight to dry. All right, here we go. Now I'm going to take tuxedo black, and now I've got the outline of the flower. I didn't say what I was using. I'm using the Color and Contour bundle. So I love this stamp, with the two-step stamping, and then these great scalloped rectangles. And if you want to cut out your flowers, you've got those, and this great scallop edge. This has got to be one of my favorite stamps bundles. So now I'm just going to go over this. Not too bad. I guess I got it kind of dry enough. And I'm not really worrying about, since it's bled all over anyway, I'm just really putting the shape of the flower over top of these images. Now, as I said, this is bigger than I need, so I'm going to take and run it through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And I'm going to use the third largest die. And I'm going to just cut out kind of the middle of this. I probably could have used the next size up. But for this one, as I said, I really wanted the, why this is, there we go. I really wanted the label with the pretty flowers that I've just stamped to be the focal point. One of the things that I thought I could do if I wanted to, if I didn't want to, you could actually stamp in polished pink the outline of the flowers randomly behind this, and that would give it a really nice effect as well. Now I'm going to take a piece of polished pink that is just about maybe 2 inches bigger than the size of my rectangle, and I'm just going to wrap it around the bottom. It's about 1 inch from the bottom, and adhere it to the back. And then I'm going to use dimensionals to adhere this in the top left-hand corner. Of my card. That. And then I'm going to cut a piece that's maybe about 3 inches in length, and I'm going to tie, I call these faux bows. Oopsie. I don't know if that's what everybody calls them, but I'm just taking this little piece and I'm just going to tie a little stingy on my ribbon, but that's okay. I can actually get it. And then I'm just going to tie it in a single knot. Now I'm going to take my tuxedo black, and I've got this sentiment. I'm going to use my piercing mat. This is a photopolymer stamp, and I don't have much cushion underneath, so I'm going to use my piercing mat just so I have a nice cushion for my stamp. Photopolymer needs a little bit of cushions, so I'm just stamping the sentiment on the bottom right hand corner. So that's how quick and easy that card is to make, and you get a different effect every time you do it, depending on again how wet your watercolor paper is. All right. So I hope you enjoyed that. I'd love to see your cards that you create. You can maybe share them at some point. That would be great. I will post the link to the blog underneath. So all of the measurements for this card will be on my blog as well as the written instructions. So you can go back to it if you missed out anything. Again, if you're new to my YouTube channel and you haven't subscribed, I'd love for you to subscribe so that you get notified when I post my next video. All of the supplies to make this card are also listed on my blog, and there is a link to my online store if you're interested in placing an order. If you live in Canada, don't have a demonstrator, and you're interested in placing an order. Thanks everybody for joining me. I hope you enjoyed that. If you have any questions, please either leave them on my blog or underneath this video and I'll respond to them. Again, thanks for joining me and happy stamping. Bye.